Howdy y'all, Fast Forwards 289. So tonight we're going to be installing a new alternator on my car, and it's not because the one that I have is bad. It actually still works perfect. But the one I'm installing has more amperage, only 5, not a big deal, but I'll get into that and explain all that when we start getting into it to replace it. So yeah, let's jump into it and let's get this new alternator installed. So the first thing you want to do is you want to unhook your battery, and then when it comes to removing the alternator, we're going to take this bolt here out, and there's a bolt down here at the bottom. If they're a factory, the top one will be a 5/8, and the bottom one should be a 9/16. I like to lay it down here on the frame. It's out of the way that way, and you can get to everything easily. So now we got to take these nuts here out, and if you want to, you can take a picture of this to kind of give you a reference of how it would go back if you're not sure. And once you got all the bolts out, all this stuff will just come right off. Sometimes this rubber will get stuck around those fittings down there. You just be careful with them prying them up. And then that's out. And we can pull the alternator out. So this is going to be the part that I'm putting in the car. There's actually nothing wrong with the alternator that came out of the car. It's just in 1968, in the 60s, early 70s, Ford used 55 amp alternators, and that's what you buy at the auto parts store. This one is actually for my 1976 Ford truck, and in 1975, Ford upgraded to a 60 amp alternator. Now, it's not a huge difference. It's only 5 extra amps, but it should be all that I need, because now I have an electric fan, and that's while the car still charges properly. I've never had a problem with dead battery. When the fan kicks on at night with the headlights on, I can tell when it kicks on. The lights get a little bit dimmer. So I'm hoping this will help take care of that and fix that problem. I don't have a super big stereo system or nothing like that. Really, the only thing I have to draw amperage is the electric fan. And then, of course, besides the lights and all. But so I'm hoping that this will carry it. In 75, they went to a 60 amp alternator because 75 was the first year for factory installed electronic ignition on all Fords. So they upgraded the alternator to carry the electronic ignition, and also the coil, because the coils for points is 6 volt. That's why you have to use the ballast resistor if you change the coil. But on electronic ignition, it's 12 volts. So that's why I'm going to install this one here. It's only, I said, it's only 5 extra amps, but it should help carry it better. It's the exact same alternator. If you look, they didn't change from 60s to 70s. Like, they are literally identical. And as a good little thing to note, if you ever go to the parts store, what I've noticed is I've gone to buy one for like the 68 Mustang before, which would be the same as my 68 Fairlane. A lot of times they don't even have it in stock, which is kind of strange. And if they do, I think they're actually a little bit more. I think they cost more. They have this one in stock for my 1976 Ford truck, and if it's not cheaper, it's the same price, but they actually have it in stock, and it's 5 amperes more. So honestly, you're better off to buy a 75 and up alternator anyway for your 60s Ford, just because of the more amperage. And it's literally the exact same thing. Like I said, if you look at them side by side, you can't tell the difference. They're identical. So I'm gonna install this, and let's get to it. Hook this up, and it goes back exactly the same way it came apart. No different. Put these fittings on first. That's just what I like to do. It don't matter which ones you put on first, just what I like to do. And sometimes that rubber piece can be tight getting over there, especially with it being as old as it is, but take your time, it'll work right over it. And don't forget your ground. You want to go through and tighten all these up, snug them up good. Don't ever tighten them, don't kill it, but you do want to make sure they're good and tight. We can put the alternator back in place. Grab our pry bar, put it in here so we can tighten the belt. check your belt tightness. We're good to go. I also want to point out, generally you would want to change your voltage regulator whenever you change the alternator, when you have an external voltage regulator. But as you can see, this one's brand new, so I'm not going to worry about it. Everything was charging properly before. I said I only changed it to give me more amperage on the alternator. This one's brand new. I'm not going to worry about it. But by and large, you want to change this when you change the alternator. All right, once you got everything hooked back up, you got your battery reconnected, it's time to fire it up, make sure everything's working like it's supposed to. And I'm also going to check just to make sure, even though I know it's a new alternator, I'm going to make sure that it's charging like it's supposed to. Good to go. That one even sounds better than the other one. All right, anytime I replace the alternator, voltage regulator, anything to do with the charging system, I like to make sure it's still charging. So while the car is running, I'm gonna hook my battery tester to it and check the charging system. You can also use a multimeter if you don't have a battery tester. You can see it's into okay. This side is like overcharged, undercharged, and the middle is okay. We want just above 14, and that's what we got. We're just above 14. And that's probably hard to see. This is old thing. This thing's like from the 70s or 80s. Still works perfect though, but we're good to go on the charging system. And just to show you this way as well, you use the multimeter, turn it on. You want to go to DC volts, that's direct current voltage. Now I go to 20. All right, now we can look here. See, we got 14 volts, which is good. That's what we want. So it's charging properly. All right, guys. Well, there we go. That's another install made, and like I said, relatively cheap. You can get like 70 amps, 75, 80, 100 different aftermarket style alternators if you want, and they run up into the hundreds of dollars sometimes. Like I said, if you have a high output power stereo system or a bunch of extra added accessories like electric fuel pump, stuff like this, you're going to want a bigger alternator probably. I'd probably want to go at least a 70, 75 amp at least on that. But with my application, I'm still running the stock manual fuel pump, carburetor, you know, I don't have fuel injection. I got just a simple basic DIN radio with just speakers, no subwoofer, none of that. So for me, the only thing I have is the electric fan. But at night, I can see the lights dim when it kicks on. So hopefully this will take care of that problem, or at the very least help it with the extra 5 amps on the alternator. And now I got a nice new looking part underneath the hood. Makes it look a lot better and cleaner. So, but yeah, basic install, quick, simple. You know, all you need is basic hand tools, and good to go. If y'all like the video, give me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. And if you're not subscribed already, consider subscribing. I'd appreciate it to help me out. And leave a comment down below and tell me what you think. And as always, thank y'all for watching. Take care. Have a nice night.